Welcome to The Working Artist. You know me already, Crista Cloutier, and I'm thrilled to welcome today's special guest, Jason Sikes of Village Green. Jason is not only one of my oldest and dearest friends, but he has become a fixture in The Working Artist, sharing his extensive knowledge about artist websites and branding with us. Jason and I have been having a lot of conversations about artificial intelligence and art lately, and Jason has launched a very cool new AI venture, which you're going to learn about soon. Jason Sikes is the founder and artistic director of Village Green Studios, a Los Angeles-based creative agency serving artists and cultural businesses since 2000. With a background in fine art, entertainment marketing, and television development, Jason brings a rare blend of strategic creativity and technological fluency. His studio offers design, web development, video branding, social media, and AI services, all grounded in 2 decades of experience helping artists amplify their voice and expand their audience. Yeah,
Yay.
excellent.
If you did the
Excellent.
math, you could tell that I'm 35.
And a half.
And
Jason, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really excited to take the conversations that you and I have been having about AI and art public. So let's get into it. I'm going to ask everyone to hold their questions and comments until the end, okay? And let me begin by pointing out that we artists have lived through massive shifts from the beginning of time. I mean, imagine how upsetting it must have been when art moved from cave walls to the walls of churches and homes. Photography was invented around 170 years ago. Andrew can check me on this. And it was announced all over the world that this was the death of art. Photoshop was also demonized when it came around. And now we have artificial intelligence. But this moment feels different. AI writes, it generates images, it writes code, it produces ideas. These are things that we've always thought of as uniquely human activities. So now our anxiety is around authorship. It's about identity. And here's the truth. Even the experts don't fully understand where this is going. We've all heard predictions that are as terrifying as they are hopeful, and no one knows. I just read a prediction that said the growth in AI intelligence between now and the end of this year could be comparable to the evolutionary leap from a buzzard to a human being. Take that in for a second. When I first saw this, my reaction wasn't excitement, it was responsibility. A lot of people are angry about AI, and honestly, that anger is justified. There are real concerns about lack of government oversight or protection and about the huge environmental cost of these systems. But here's another truth. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. So the real question isn't, is AI good or bad? The real question is, who are we going to be inside this moment? And wherever you are on this, excited, skeptical, angry, curious, scared, you're not wrong for feeling that. Some people have started to use the term apocalyptimist to describe where they stand. And it's perfect for this strange moment where enormous risk and enormous possibility exist at the same time, which makes me smile because that's exactly where artists have always lived. So, Jason, let me ask you, what are artists actually reacting to? What's under threat? And what are we protecting here?
the artists that I've spoken to when I bring it up, actually when I bring up Village Green AI and that I'm actually doing AI professionally right now, the reactions are always almost always extreme. Either way, extremely positive, extremely negative. And artists are no different. There are those that are super excited about it, and there are many that are think that it's the death of the artist, like you mentioned, and there are very few people that fall in the middle there. And it's interesting. I find that the ones that are most scared are the ones that haven't even played with it at all, and the ones that are excited are the ones that have decided to see what it can do.
Okay. I think that it's really important that AI not replace authorship, not replace lived experience or discernment or thinking. And one of the conversations we've had recently in the Working Artist Academy was with our mentor, Barb Siegel. And she said something that I thought was incredibly simple but powerful. AI generates outputs and humans generate meaning. And I find that interesting that even the technologists building these systems are beginning to say something very similar. They noticed that when tools can generate almost anything, the real advantage starts to shift, not to the fastest generator, but to the person with the clearest taste, the clearest judgment, the clearest vision. In other words, the person who knows what is actually worth making. AI is just an extraordinary pattern recognition, but it's not embodied. It doesn't have a childhood. It doesn't fall in love. It doesn't have its heart broken. It doesn't struggle with purpose. And those experiences are really the stuff of art, right? AI can generate images, but it can't generate a life. And that's the difference. So tools change, but the need for human vision has never changed. And I think that's something that artists understand instinctively because art has never been about who can make the fastest image. It's always been about who can see something worth saying and then bring the skill and the courage to say it. So I wanted to give an example of an artist who's been using AI, who was using AI to replace his experience. And his name, we'll call him Dave. Dave was someone who was working one-on-one with me. He was, or he is, a brilliant scientist, a published novelist, a poet. He had a degree in other fields too. So, really brilliant guy who had recently started making art and wanted to work as an artist. And he was making really powerful images using surreal self-portraiture. But his work wasn't getting any attention. His titles and captions and his statements were all kind of bland. And I could tell that he was outsourcing them to AI. And I challenged him to stop, but he had a really hard time letting go of that crutch. And in spite of his huge achievements, he was really struggling to show his vulnerability. And I think we all know that this is essential to being an artist. So I had suggested that for our next online meeting, we pretend that we're just two artists sharing a bottle of wine at a cafe where we talked about art. And, artists love to talk about art. So we got into that. We were really, really relaxing. And then we started to talk about Dave's art. And I started to tell him what I saw. And I started to ask questions. And he opened up and he told me where the images were coming from, his fears, his disappointments, his hopes, his dreams. And by the end of that conversation, we had captured all the language that we needed to write his titles and his captions in a really exciting new way. And not long after, he made his first online sale and he was accepted to a month-long residency in Europe. So the point of the story is that Dave had been choosing abdication of his voice over assistance from AI. But now, more than ever, your story and your humanity matter. So, Jason, if we choose to use AI, how do we use it well?
You touched on one of the things that a lot of the people that are concerned about it have, and that is the lack of humanity in it, personality, life, experience, and all that. But to me, that you can't even start to use AI with that because it starts with a single person, an artist, telling AI what it wants. So just from the very get go, human is involved, even if it's just as simple. Make me a picture of a woman flying through space. Well, it wouldn't have done that unless I told it to do that. And then what I have found in working with it, and other artists have found with working with it, is it is an assistant, it is a tool, and it's almost a partner. Not an equal partner, but of all the tool, of course, I've used lots of tools that have limits. Photoshop has limits. There's things I want to do, and with other tools that I use, and they just can't quite do it. So I have to use my creativity to figure out a way around it. Well, it's the same with AI. Absolutely, it's just that the challenges that are encountered are different and new, which is sort of exciting. So I have to bring my humanity and my experience to it in a new way, which is kind of fun. And so what I mean by it being sort of a partner is it can have its own opinion. And it's not a human opinion, it's a machine opinion. And it can be stubborn. And I think I was telling you before about the first time I ever used it is I'm an artist, also a fine artist, and I do a lot of collage work and mixed media because I am not terrific with my hands. And so when Photoshop came around, that was great for me. I could scan things and manipulate them all electronically. So I was working on a new piece, and the core is of a man in a lounge chair with his feet up on a shelf, like having a cocktail. And then there's other cool stuff in there, but that I needed to start with that. And usually I'll go to Google Images and I'll find something that's similar and I'll manipulate it in Photoshop. And I just freaking couldn't find something that felt right to me. And I thought, well, maybe this is my moment to try AI. So I got into it and I told it what I wanted, and it wasn't right. First of all, I didn't know how to communicate with it. So I had to learn how to teach it to speak human with me. And the first thing it did is it gave me a realistic person of a realistic man sitting in a chair, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't tell it that I wanted it to be more illustrative, not quite cartoony. So I had to explain that. And so it was weird. It was almost like teaching a toddler in some way. But it learns as it goes, so it gets to know you a little bit. So then it was getting closer, and I said, no, I want more of like an early 60s kind of a feel and color. And then I actually gave it some hashtags of, of certain color profiles, RGB color profiles, use this, use this, use this. And so in that way, it was even more, I was bringing even more humanity to it. It was just slightly different. In Photoshop, I can go and open up color and I can search the colors and I can say, okay, this color. Well, I had to communicate that in just a different way. So then it was getting really, really close to what I wanted. But then it decided to get stubborn because no matter how I phrased it, no matter how I talked to it, it kept giving me this great image of a man doing exactly what I wanted, but he had 3 legs. And I could not get rid of that third leg. And it's an example of how it is not human because for some reason it got it in its head that there should be 3 legs. And I've had this before. I've had a dog with 2 tongues, and and sometimes it'll fix itself, and sometimes it won't. So again, here comes the humanity again. It wouldn't fix it, and so I stopped and said, well, why am I relying on it 100% to get my vision into reality when I can just take this really great image of what I want with 3 legs, download it, bring it into Photoshop, and get rid of the third leg? And that is one of the mistakes that I think artists and almost anybody that uses AI, especially initially, is they give it too much. They give it too much power. They expect too much. And so they let it do more than it can or that it should. And so once I realized that it was a conversation with this assistant and tool, I started to see and the opposite of that is as a almost partner is it'll surprise you and give you something more than you wanted. Now, there are those that think, well, now it's not art because you didn't create it. And maybe not. It's hard to say. Crista said the experts that are out there, I would argue that there really aren't any experts at this moment. There are people with more experience than others, but it's so new that I don't think there are really experts. It's more of a conversation with this partner. Oh, that's what I was going to say. When it gives me something more than I wanted, the first time it did it, my gut reaction was, well, that's not me. My gut reaction was an emotion. I got goosebumps on the back of my neck. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I wanted, minus the third leg.
I once asked it to to take a picture of me that I needed for social media and move my eyes. So I'm looking at the camera. And it started to do it, but it wasn't quite right. And it started to do it, and it wasn't quite right. And the more I asked it to correct, the further away we got from what I wanted. And then I started to get angry with it. And it created this picture of me with my nose coming down there and my tongue stick. It created the ugliest, meanest picture of me. And I was like, okay, I'm out. I've angered the monster. Um, because it can do everything you want it to do. And that does get frustrating. My own work as an artist is as a visual storyteller. I put photos and I put words together. And I use AI now as an artist to help me with my editing, to help me find a word that I can't think about, to help me choose between two or three images, or even to like give me feedback on a finished work. And I'm curious, Jason, as an artist, how you're using AI in your own creative practice right now. Is it helping you to think more clearly? Is it misleading you? What do you think?
The answer to that is yes. It's sort of like the situation with AI in general. Is it good? Is it bad? Yes. Can it be great? Can it be scary? Yes. The answer to all these things are yes. And like you said in the beginning, so much technological advance over the years has had the same thing. People were petrified of the automobile when it came out. It's just going to run over everybody and kill everybody. And I can see that point of view. So I use it. It's I use it as a tool and an assistant, and it's like I said before, and I don't try to rely on it too much.
Mhm.
Um,
You ask it for
and also,
feedback?
what?
You ask it for feedback?
Oh, that's interesting. Do I ask it for feedback? I have. I have, and this is an important point. And sometimes I appreciate the response, and sometimes I don't. And that gets back to giving it too much power and too much control over what you are doing with it. It's not unlike when I started doing web design 26 years ago, when I was 10. Um, I would have lots of new clients want to get the opinions of their friends and family. And I totally get that. But what I had to convey to them was listen, and I would apply this to almost everything in life that you're asking advice for. Gather all the advice that you want, all the thoughts, and then weigh them all and keep what works and discard what doesn't. Don't, and AI is no different. Don't just take it at its word. It can be wrong because it's not you, because it's not a human.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting because when you ask for feedback from humans, it's exactly the same,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes we just abdicate our opinions to other people. And now we're doing it to machines. It's no different. But we have to hold the locus of truth in
Yep.
ourselves. I was
Yep.
recently working with an artist on the cover for my book, and he kept giving me different covers, and I'm like, oh, great. And then I put it through AI. It was like, no, do this, this, that, and the other. And AI was never satisfied with it. And the artist was getting frustrated with me, which I understood because I didn't have a vision. And funnily enough, I was at the airport returning a rental car, and I turned around, and the airport here has an art collection, and I saw this piece of art in front of me, and I was there when that art was made. I knew the artist, and she made that work of art about me. And the title of my book is Feather to Wings, and this piece of art has a feather turning into wings. And it was like, wow, there it is in real life, which is so much more magic and so much more meaningful. And so I sent that to the artist and we created a beautiful cover. And I never asked AI at all what it thought about it because I didn't care, because that had meaning to me. That's real art,
Yes.
right? It can't be outsourced to a machine.
I have a quick story about a voiceover artist that falls into this category. He's a voiceover artist. He did a new demo, needed a website, and his brand, his sound was that of like the guy lets you in or doesn't let you in behind the velvet rope at a bar. And that was just what he sounded like. And so I did something. I put a sort of like a tattoo of his name right here, as if it was a stamp from a club. And anyway, it looked really good, and he really loved it. And then he went and asked his friends and family what they thought of it. And his mom said, "But I'll call him Tom. But Tom, you love standard poodles. You have three full-bred standard poodles. You should include them in your art for your voiceover demo." And he came back and told me. I was like, "No, no, no, you should not. That does not speak to your brand at all." So that's just another version of taking other people's
Other
advice.
people's, yeah, exactly. How do you keep an artist's voice intact?
Keeping the artist's voice intact when they use AI is pretty much everything that we've said up until now, and that is
Yeah.
to not relinquish your power and your creativities to a machine or even to another person, unless it's a partnership of some kind, a real partnership of some kind.
Speaking of websites, so you work with artists on their websites pretty much every day. And when it comes to AI, where is it genuinely helping artists to show up better? And where are artists making mistakes using AI?
AI is a great attention getter. I use when I promote myself, it's scroll stopping. So it's great on social media. The mistake is people discover what can be done with it, and then that's all they want to do, which was like me the first week I figured it out.
Hmm.
And then what happens, not dissimilar than a website, is it becomes the focus of the attention. When the AI becomes the focus of attention, or when the website has all the gizmos and the whizzes and the bangs, it then becomes the focus of attention, not the art or the artist. So it has to be used sparingly. But especially on in social media or on a website itself, if you use it correctly and sparingly, it can't help but grab attention. And one of the things that I've helped artists with is I've taken their pieces, and I have examples I can show later. I've taken pieces and brought them to life. And we can get into an argument about whether or not that is right to do with the art, because it should exist for itself and bring its own message, and yes, 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 and yes. But you know what? When you're having that conversation, you're having a conversation about the art. And that's fantastic. So if there's something that can grab that attention, especially social media, and get people off of social media, which is really the goal of social media when you're using it, and into your world, onto your website, well, now it's done its job. And now they're on your website and they're looking at your other art, whether it's been AI'd or not, you've got them in your store, your studio.
And more artists are curious about AI visuals. What do you think they're misunderstanding about that? And what separates gimmick from something really powerful?
Well, gimmick and powerful is that's it's really a matter of taste and opinion, really.
Okay.
But I will say, when artists start going down the, like I did the first week I was doing it, when they start going down the path of, "Ooh, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this." Now they're focused less on the art and more of what they can make AI do. And then you start to get into gimmicky, which isn't necessarily bad depending on your art, I suppose. I do a lot of pop art, so gimmicky can be fun for me. In fact, you'll see one I did of a Scooby Doo later, and it's kind of gimmicky, but it's fun.
Yeah, show us some examples.
You guys want to see examples? Yay!
Yay.
All right, I'm going to share screen. Look, there's Krista, and there's me. Actually, this is a good image to start with, because I am not 35. I'm a little older than 35. I am of an age when I saw Indiana Jones in the movie theater. And everyone, every boy, especially my age, when we saw that movie, we wanted to be Indiana Jones. So I fulfilled a lifelong dream. This is my website, Village Green AI.
Village Green AI. Raiders of the Lost Audience.
Yay!
Brilliant. Yeah, I love that one.
More?
Show us, yeah, show us another.
This is one I did for a woman who runs a company that teaches master classes and has actually not too unlike what Krista did, but it's not art focused. And that's kind of what she looks like. You hear it, Krista?
Uh-huh.
Rise above the rest.
Social Made Simple, a membership experience.
She used that in as part of a group of ads that she was putting out for people to sign up for this, and she said almost 100 times more engagement with that than she did her other stuff, just because of that just because of that still, and people knew that it was going to be like a Barbie doll jumping out of a thing.
And I have that same outfit. Play another one.
Okay. Well, this one's also me, but this is fun because I'm a big Beatles fan.
Looking for custom scroll-stopping social media videos? Contact Village Green Studios AI services.
Gotta love Ringo. Actually, an aside, I saw Ringo in this was years ago, but I was in like an athletic store looking at treadmills or something like that, and he was in there with his wife. God, I want to say Barbara something. I'm close.
Barbara
Is
Bach.
it? Is it? Okay.
Mhm.
And he was in line in front of, or I was with a friend. He's in front of us, and he went and he handed his credit card to the woman to pay for something. And she looked at it, and it actually says Ringo Starr on the card. And she says, "Do you have photo ID?" And he turned around to us and said, "It happens more than you think now." And then he actually gave me a peace sign, which was cool.
That's cool.
All right, I'll show a couple of what I've done for artists.
Yeah.
All right, this is
Love this
Janet
piece.
Scrow, and I love this piece. In fact, I did her website for her, and part of her payment was this piece. And so I used this for her, and she used it on social media, and she said she also got a ton of engagement with it. Has no audio. And just that simple movement and a scroll down stopped people.
Thank you. That was awesome. That was awesome. You know, Jason and I, we've been talking for weeks now about the fears and anger around AI, so we completely get it. I keep coming back to the idea that AI is a mirror. It is a reflection of what we feed it. It reflects our clarity, our confusion, our intentions, our tone. It doesn't arrive on the scene with its own values. It's a reflection of ours, and that might be the part that feels the most uncomfortable. So the question isn't whether AI will shape the future of art. The question is, what kind of artists are we going to be inside of this moment? Because whatever we bring to it, ethically, creatively, that's what it's going to reflect back. And for this moment, that part still belongs to us. Jason, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Sure, no problem. It's always a fun conversation to have because it's so heated on
Yeah.
both ways. And I want to let everyone know, if you go to my site, villagegreenai.com, there's a place you can sign up for a newsletter, and you'll be entered to win a free 5 to 8 second AI video.
Awesome.